I, Sakaja Arthur Johnson, do solemnly swear that the evidence that I shall give before this committee in respect of the matters before the committee shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help me God.
Very well. You proceed to table the documents that you have.
Thank you, Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I hereby table the following documents before the committee. Management responses and accompanying annexures of the following fund of the Alcoholic Drinks Control and Licensing Board for financial years 2019-20, 2021, 21-22. The Nairobi City County Alcoholic Drinks and Control Licensing Board.
Very well. Let me find out from the auditors on the documents tabled whether they have been processed within the required timelines as per our communication and our rules, and whether you had an opportunity to review the responses and whether the appropriate annexures and supporting documents have been included on it. Auditor?
Thank you, Chair. I can confirm to this committee that we received the responses and also the annexures, but the hard copies of the annexures were received yesterday. But we were able to go through them, and we are ready to proceed with the meeting. Thank you.
When did you receive the responses and the annexures?
The soft copies of the response and annexures we received last week, by Wednesday last week. But for the hard copies we received yesterday. Thank you.
Okay, Yusuf?
Chair, for the Office of the Clerk, we received documents on 12th February before we had the last meeting, and that was a response without annexures. Since then, there were no submissions to the Office of the Clerk.
What about the latest responses?
We have seen them today in the morning.
You have seen the responses today?
Yeah, these ones, yeah, today in the morning.
What did your letter say? Maybe you can read out the appropriate paragraph of your letter.
Chair, with your permission, in the letter that was sent on 29th, there were some accompanying instructions, and the first instruction said that the committee requests you to acknowledge receipt of the invitation by a letter to the Office of the Clerk of the Senate submitted by email on address clerk.senate@parliament.go.ke and copied to the email address of the clerk below, at least 7 days prior to the scheduled date of appearance. Instruction number 2, the committee further requests that at least 7 days prior to the scheduled date of appearance before the committee, you submit written responses, including supporting documentation to the specific issues raised in the said reports of the Auditor General to 1. The relevant Auditor General Regional Hub Office, and 2. The Office of the Clerk of the Senate by email on clerk.senate@parliament.go.ke and copied to the email address of the committee clerk below. That's it, Chair.
Okay, so Auditor, you know, we have standards that we have set as a committee. that documents must be presented to us within the prescribed time so that our secretariats are able to process the responses and make appropriate reports for the members before the meeting. So from your explanation clearly, you are saying that you received the soft copy, annexures, but not the hard copy. On this other side, the clerk says they have just seen them today morning. So what's your view, Auditor, on this before I ask the members to come in? Auditor, any one of you can respond, including the mark.
Thank you, Chair. From the audit team, they have indicated to this committee and also to myself that they had chance to go through the responses, and in their opinion, they're able to assist the committee in deliberation on the reports before this committee. Thank you, Chair.
Yusuf, your comment?
Chair, the committee has rules and it needs to adhere to. However, if the auditors feel strongly sufficient to guide the committee may proceed.
You see now you are advising us to break the rules. Yeah, your own rules. You say 7 days, and then now you tell us that we can proceed. So supposing it becomes business as usual for all the counties, how is this committee going to survive? Anyway, members, I open the floor. Let's start with Senator, the two Nairobi delegations. Senator Hamida.
I think, Chair, today I feel like I'm a non-starter because this is Nairobi again. And unfortunately, I wouldn't want us to turn them back just like the other time. I never expected, I know Excellency is always up to his game, but then I don't know what has happened this time. Is it that his office has failed him? Or I don't understand. And I also realize, One Excellency, maybe just there are many acting directors. So I've just been wondering what is happening to Nairobi. But then that's what I'm saying, I've realized, this is the second time, Bwana Governor. And najua wewe, hii game unaijua kabisa. So I'm wondering what has happened. Maybe let me just give a chance to others, Chair, by the time I contemplate on Nairobi, because I really don't want to hit them hard. I live in Nairobi. I'm a senator for Nairobi.
Senator Mutinda.
Thank you, Chair. From where I sit, Chair, all these responsibilities are teamwork responsibility. And we have guidelines, we have rules, and it's very clear that we work within these timelines. For Nairobi County to be here, they got a notice within a timeline. And that's how the governor is also able to prepare and be here. That applies to us. I would urge at this point, because of time, we proceed. But Bwana Governor is the leader of your county. We should not be deliberating on these very small issues. Nairobi County is just a walk across from us. Let the Secretariat, the Auditor's Office try and next time fasten, because when we have a timeline of 7 days, definitely even when you sit in an office and you know you're supposed to receive documents maybe on a 23rd, on a 24th, of course, this date has hit. You can also raise the alarm and be able to ensure that this is done. This is not, this cannot make us not to proceed. Let us proceed, but let us ensure that this, does not reoccur. Thank you, Chair.
Senator Olekina.
Mr. Chairman, I've had a chance to look at the report, just like the auditors have done. One, I've noted that the subject matter has also been deferred to the investigating officers under the DCI to be able to investigate and prosecute if they deem so. I've seen the opinion rendered by the auditors is a disclaimer of opinion. I've also seen a contradiction between the auditors and the county government. The auditors have indicated that they use a cash accounting system to prepare the financials. The Nairobi County is insisting that they have used accrual. Now, whether we proceed or not, it seems that there's a huge disconnect between the two offices. I am concerned that one, it's a subject of investigation. I've also looked at the audit queries. This is very, very bad. In school, this is an E or an F. And I will leave it up to you, Chair. If you are to ask me, I would say we go through it. The audit query seems to be few. The auditors were limited in their scope. They never got a chance to really interrogate these matters. If you look at page 2, Mr. Chairman, of financial year 2019-2020, and we are looking at several financial years. We are starting from 2014, where the auditors have clearly indicated that Nairobi County did not prepare the documents. From 2014 all the way to 2019-2020. And if you go to page 2, Mr. Chairman, you will see that in the financial year 2019-2020, after the Auditor General had given their submissions to the executive, the matter was deliberated by the Select Committee on Public Accounts, and consideration of the report of the Office of the Auditor General, it was resolved that the matter be forwarded to DCI for further investigation. So if this matter is being investigated, Auditor, you said you're ready to proceed, and I'm ready to proceed. I've looked at all the loopholes. I'm concerned. There is already a disconnect between your office and that of the county government, where they're saying that they have prepared their accounts based on the accrual. You are saying it's based on the cash basis. How then do we proceed first if that is what they are stating on? So, Mr. Chairman, when it comes to a matter that is being investigated, I would leave it to you to determine the way forward. But I'm deeply concerned. There's a lot. It leaves a lot to be desired.
Maybe before I make my ruling on this matter, I have also had an opportunity to go through I had a long weekend, so I had an opportunity to go through the audit query. And this morning I've also had a quick review of what has been submitted to us, and I had a meeting with the auditors as well. A number of issues have come up. Number one is the financial statements. They have inconsistencies. The financial statements as presented to this committee have been signed by the persons who are not accounting officers. And I would want that information to come out very clearly from the auditors who told me this morning, and I verified on the financial statement. Number two, when you go through the annexures that have been submitted to the auditor and not submitted to the clerk, they look like documents which have just been manufactured just for the purpose of this meeting. And on to that, you know, under the Public Audit Act, it is an offense to submit document required for audit late. Late submission is actually an offense. And you look at the audit report. The audit report for the 3 years is disclaimer. And the auditor, you need to explain to the people in this meeting what disclaimer means. Disclaimer basically means that there were no documents provided to make a reliable opinion. And these documents have just been submitted. They were not submitted last time, and that's why we asked the governor and the team to go. And now, these ones that were submitted to the auditor just last week and not submitted to the committee. So I'm finding it difficult to handle that situation, given that the auditors have concerns about, one, the financial statements, two, the issue of late submission of documents, and the report being a disclaimer. I do not think that we are really going to do justice to sit in here looking through audit queries where the information is insufficient or where the documents seem to have been generated. So, Auditor, I want you to comment, one, starting on the issue of financial statements, and we would like to know the accountants involved in that case, because we now have decided that the accountants who are members of ISPAC, who are involved in generating this kind of financial statements, we will have no choice but to write to ISPAC on their conduct. We cannot have a situation where financial statements are done and there is no information to back up those financial statements. So, Auditor, I want you to comment on those issues I've raised, on the issue of financial statement, how were they processed? And number two, late submission of documents, because to us, these documents have now just been submitted. On record, the clerk has said they have just been submitted to us. Why were they not submitted earlier during the audit process or even after the audit process? Proceed.
Chair, maybe before, with your permission.
Yes.
I just want to get your point clear, because you've indicated that the documents were signed by members who are not accountants.
No, I said they were signed by some of the people who signed were not accounting officers.
Because
in
when
the records, the accounting officers are different from the people who signed the financial statements.
Because when I look at the financial statement for 2019, there was a gentleman by the name of Julius Matakwa, and there is an ISPAC number for that.
That is the accountant. That is the accountant. But we had the specific CEC who was supposed to sign the report. So proceed.
Through Chair, honorable members, management of Nairobi County, Secretariat, and my colleagues, good morning.
Good morning.
Not forgetting the media. I wish to start by saying that the Act, Part 2, Paragraph 4, Subparagraph 1, 2 of the County Alcoholic Drinks Control and Licensing Board and the Sub-County Alcoholic Drinks Control and Licensing Committee states that the county chief responsible for trade or the chief licensing officer shall be the secretary to the board. And by default, the secretary to the board is the accounting officer. For the 3 years, financial statements for 2019-2020, 2018-19, 2021-2022, the ones that we are supposed to be interrogating, only the financial statements for the financial year 2019-2020 were interrogated by the committee, county assembly, and the resolutions or the whatever they did, the resolutions to the deliberations were forwarded to DCI. However, we are ready to continue interrogating the financial statements for 2021, 2022, and 2020, 2021, respectively. For the 3 years, the Office of Auditor General was not able to issue an opinion on the 3 financial years. The main reason is the accounting officer didn't sign the financial statements, so we were not able to rely on them. Secondly, the records or the supporting documents were not provided for audit review. Thirdly, the management didn't have a trial balance, which is the basis or a ledger for preparation of financial statements. In those circumstances, the accuracy and completeness of the financial statements could not be confirmed by the Auditor General. However, for the years that they did submit the financial years, the financial statements from 2014, they were able to present them to our office. We could not audit and issue a certificate because the Auditor General then was not in office. Therefore, we only reviewed the bank balances that were from those financial statements, of which a paragraph is also included in the financial year 2021-2022 based on the observations. The Public Accounting Standards Board requires that any fund to prepare financial statements on accrual basis. However, for the 2 years, 2019-2020 and 2020-2021, the financial statements were prepared on cash basis instead of accrual basis. For the financial year 2021-2022, the management prepared the financial statements based on the accrual basis. Thank you.
Just a moment. So maybe before I leave you, who signed the statements for the year ended June 2020?
Thank you, Chair. The officer who signed the financial statements for the financial year 2019-2020 was a director by the name Mr. Hesbon Agwena.
Who was he then? Administrator of the fund?
He was just a director.
A director?
Yes, Chair.
The administrator of the fund was a different person?
Yes, Chair.
And who was the accountant?
The accountant who sent the financial statement was Claire Kenya.
Claire Kenya.
Yes, Chair.
For the year ended 2021, June 2021?
For the financial year ending 2021, the director, Mr. Hesbon Agwena, equally signed the financial statements with the accountant, Claire Kenya.
For the year ended June 2022?
For the year ended 2022, the director, Hesbon Agwena, equally signed the financial statements with the accountant, Claire Kenya.
So where is Hesbon? Is he here today?
Yes, I'm around.
You are here?
Yes, I am.
You've been with the Nairobi County since when?
Since 1988.
1998, eh?
88.
88.
Yes.
And Claire?
I've been in Nairobi County since 1999.
Since 1999. How come you signed these, Hesbon? How come you signed these and you're not the... Were you the administrator of the fund?
I was not the administrator of the fund, but I signed on the authority of the chief officer, who is the accounting officer.
But where is that authority? Because it's not included in the statements. And again, per your act, it was supposed to be signed by the CEC for trade.
Chief officer.
Chief officer for trade, who then was who was the chief officer for trade?
Chair, Mohammed Sahal. Thank you,
Yes,
Chair.
I can see Mohammed Sahal. So that's a problem. That's a problem. Proceed.
Chair, I really would not want us to proceed with this matter. In fact, I have two suggestions. One is that we receive these submissions, we retreat, we go through them. Because as I go through them, and I've had a chance to go through them, I see a lot of illegalities, which could end up sending a few people to jail. I hate to point at a few people who have been there forever. Because if you look at, for the financial year 2021-2022, the money which was supposed to be used to set up rehabilitation centers was used to pay for MCS to travel abroad. Sherehe. They went to Turkey, January 2022, and I'm sure this gentleman and this lady have been in that fund forever. They went to Turkey, and the purpose of their trip to Turkey, and I've been looking at the Act, it has nothing to do with these trips. It says is to attend a workshop on elimination of fraud and corruption in public finance management. That has got nothing to do with alcohol. And they has paid for about 6 members of the county assemblies to go to Turkey. And then again in September 21st, 2021, he paid for almost the same members, 6 members again. These ones were traveling to. Members of the county assemblies have been invited to attend a workshop, the role of regional and state parliamentary leaders in the economic empowerment of the marginalized through trade and investment opportunities. It has nothing to do with alcohol. Then authority to incur expenditure to workshop to be held in Istanbul, Turkey, same amount. Another one again, to travel again to members of the county assembly listed below who oversight liquor activities have been invited for training in governance and public service management in Turkey again. Another place again, Turkey. There are like almost 10 trips, actually more than 10 trips, about 12 trips. Others going to Dubai, others going to Turkey. So really, Mr. Chairman, let me just suggest we do this. We accept these written submissions, we retreat, we look at it, remember that others have been forwarded to DCI, and we submit a report to the House. You know, it is the only way that we can be able to curb this misuse of public funds. Otherwise, when we sit here and we ask questions, and then the auditors who are limited in their scope, we'll just be wasting taxpayers' money. So my view is this. This is a corruption den, and we cannot sit here and try to justify anything. You've already clearly outlined the issues. One, financial statements are signed by people who are not authorized to sign them. Number two, the money, instead of being used to set up rehabilitation centers, and we know alcohol is a problem in cities. If it's a problem in Narok, and it's just like a small town, what about Nairobi? So, Mr. Chairman, let's not waste time here. Let's accept these written submissions. Let's go sit down with the auditors. And then from there, we can then be able to submit a report to the floor of the House and recommend further action to be taken. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Senator Tinda.
Thank you, Chair. You know, I've just been listening, and one of the basic questions that I ask myself right now is, why did the governor of Nairobi choose to accompany himself with one Claire, Kenya, with one Hezbon, and the rest of the team, but more so with Claire and the Hezbon, who are before this committee today, putting in mind that the issues that we are actually looking at are issues of financial year 18-19, 19-20, 20 and 21. The governor was not in office then, fine, but Article 179 says clearly that yes, you're answerable because you're the current CEO. But would I be correct maybe to think that the reason you felt it was wise to accompany yourselves with the delegation that you have chosen is because they are in a better position to be able to answer most of these questions so that we move forward by looking at these issues that really point out to you because you are actually here, so that next time we are calling the governor of Nairobi, we can be able to look at the current issues of financial year 22, 23, 24. For Christ's sake, we are in the year 2024. These issues of Nairobi have been pending for the longest. And I would think that most of the answers are with the members that are actually here, even if not the governor. It's only that he's allowed constitutionally to be responsible, but he's already here. So that, Chair, we can be able to execute this matter. We are all aware that the former governor of Nairobi was impeached. That is fine. But money seems to be still hanging, that people probably got monies into their pockets. And the indication that we have here with this paperwork, we have the team that has been there for the longest. And actually, they stand a better chance to be able to answer. Because Hesbon, when I also looked at these documents, from where I sit, because I write letters, if I'm not in a position to sign, then the person authorized to sign, one, I'll give them consent, which you seem not to be, it to be here as an annex. At the same time, if then you sign, you say for the fund administrator or for the CEC or for the X person that you're supposed to sign. But the documents you've signed, they are not for whoever you were supposed to sign for. So I just feel, Chair, so that we can be able to close. There's no way we can be having Nairobi, they come here today, we postpone. They come tomorrow, we postpone. So unless we remove Nairobi from audit, we just audit 46 counties and let them be, because it's now becoming complicated. But most of the people, Chair, you need to note that existed in that government. And I'm happy because the delegation says they've been in office from 1988, from 1999. Then you are best suited, because you're very much informed, to be able to bring these things to light so that you can be able to close. The third thing, Chair, you need to note, we are looking at figures of over 300 million, over 500 million, I mean, millions of money out there. We need answers in this Nairobi. I'm a delegation of Nairobi, and I'm concerned as a Nairobi part. So, Chair, my wisdom would be, we proceed to the level that we can so that we close on Nairobi.
Senator Amida?
No, I was just wondering why Hesbon had put himself to all this actually task, and yet he wasn't the one in charge of signing. You see, ulikuwa unajiekea news we mwenyewe kwa shingo, because all these things, and it's true what Senator Mutinda is saying, you're the one actually to advise and guide the governor. And I always say it's really unfortunate that the current governors, imagine you have to carry the other your colleagues' burden. Unabeba msalaba ya yule mtu we mwenye hakuwa. It's really unfortunate. And I'm really hoping that at one time we'll be able to summon the former governors, because this is really unfortunate. So Claire, it's very clear that Claire and Hesbon, you are the one. And I started with that disclaimer that you have let governor down, because it is the office who are supposed to advise him. Unfortunately, we are putting him to task. So I should say the same thing, Chair. I don't know. It will be unfortunate again to send Governor Nairobi away. So let's see how we're able to proceed. Thank you.
Honorable members, I think this is going to serve as an example to similar cases like this. As I said, disclaimer opinion basically means the auditor would not make a reliable opinion because the documents were not provided as required. Number two, there were inconsistencies in the documents provided. Even now, the documents that have been presented to us, some of them are not even for the specific financial years we are making reference to, because we are looking at 2019, 2020, 2020, 2021, and 2021, 2022. But in the annex years, that has been provided to us this morning, I can see vouchers for as late as August last year. 21st August 2023. There's a voucher here to a company called Ricenet Supplies Limited. That was way after the audit period. So I don't know what you are seeking to achieve with that. Actually, there are two documents. There is one for Ricenet Supplies Limited and another one for Windsor Enterprises Limited, which are for last year, August 2023. So you see now, when you are trying to manufacture a document, there is always one or two documents with it, which will slip through.
Honorable members, in one of the queries, the auditor had asked for accounts payable that were not presented. So that was one of the accounts payable that was not presented.
So basically, what we are saying, there is a problem with the late submission of documents. In fact, it's an offense under the PFM and the Public Audit Act. And we have always said this, that you have an opportunity during the audit period to provide the documents you are supposed to be provided. You did not provide that. The auditor had a problem. And that's why he gave a disclaimer opinion. That is one. Number two, the issue of the statements not having been signed as per the law, the existing county law, is an issue. And we have said this, that the accountants who sign reports, knowing very well there is a problem with the report, you will have to carry the burden. And my first ruling is that as a committee, we are going to write to ISPAC. All the accountants involved in this processing of this financial statement, we will have to write to ISPAC about your conduct. Because you have a responsibility under the law to provide factual information to the auditors and to a serious committee of Senate like this. So Claire, Kenya, and your colleagues who are members of ISPAC, clerk, please do an appropriate letter for the 3 years, all the accountants involved, to the professional body, in this case, ISPAC. Number two, I am finding it very difficult to proceed chairing this meeting where documents have been presented late and where there are issues. I'm sure even the governor may not be at ease to respond to these queries where the information is insufficient. So for that matter, and given that Senator Olekina, you had raised the issue of the matter being under investigation, I think we will proceed to write again another letter to EACC indicating that we have had an opportunity to engage Nairobi County on this matter, and we are concerned and asking them to speed up the investigation so that the people who are involved will be investigated and possibly prosecuted. I think we are here to protect public money, and we will do that. And subject to the provision of the communication from ISPAC and EACC, this committee will proceed and do its report based on what you have submitted today. And we'll make appropriate recommendation on this matter. Because this is now the second time the governor is appearing before us, and clearly you see a situation where they are struggling to get documents to support this matter. So we will not wait any longer. We will proceed as directed. We write to EACC to speed up the investigation. We will also write to ISPAC, and we will proceed to do our report based on what we have been given.
Point of order, Chair.
What's your point of order? The chair has already made a ruling, cannot be varied.
Chair, I can see Claire is also seeking for audience before this committee, which I'll also request you grant her. But in your ruling, politely, with the letter to ISPAC, then, that's not something very light, Chair. You have put their jobs at the edge, Chair. And I thought it would have been a bit fair if we would have asked the two members, that is Claire and Hesbon, a few questions, even before you proceed on this committee, because the weight of this committee, this committee has weight. These gentlemen have been in that institution for over 30 years. It's not a joke. And if you could give a few minutes, I know you're a chair that, you also consider a few things, and we would ask them a few questions so that we get some light, even when you're putting those letters. Because in that report, as members, we have to sign that report, Chair. We have to consent to that report. We'll be part of that report. So because I had a few just highlights of questions that I had even picked up, and I would have wanted some answers just briefly from the two members, Chair. So I seek your indulgence to give it a few minutes and accord Claire some audiences. I've noted she wants to seek your audience, Chair. Thank you.
I get your point, Senator Mutinda. I know you are from Nairobi, but the rules have to be adhered to. This is a matter that we have discussed in this committee and said that to make progress and to protect public funds, the persons called accountants are very crucial stakeholders in this process. And they will have to bear the burden of inconsistencies and inaccuracies in their report. All we are doing is to write to ISPAC. ISPAC has processes on how they handle such a matter. We are doing that because we do not have the capacity to deal with it ourselves. So I think I'm not going to vary that ruling. The ruling will remain. Senator Olekina.
I think, Chair, I just wanted to assist you a little bit and maybe tell my sister. I think what we're doing is to try to gather more detailed evidence on what has transpired. And I don't think the two accounting officers should have anything to worry about if they have conducted themselves in accordance with the law. I am deeply concerned about the way the funds were misused. I just want to be given an opportunity, and I think when we retreat, we can go through the documents that have been submitted together, my sister. We can look at them. Where we find that we need more information, we can write to them to provide us more information as we gather more evidence on how these funds have been applied. We will submit our report. We will give recommendations to EACC. Nairobi County has already done that. In fact, I've thoroughly looked at the report, which is the submissions. And my sister, if you look at this document, which is prepared by Nairobi County, you will tell that page 2, it is Nairobi County management response that forwarded the matter to DCI for further investigation. It says here, or I stand corrected, it says in the financial year 2019-2020, after the Auditor General had given their submissions to the executive. The matter was deliberated by the Select Committee on Public Accounts, and consideration of the report of the Officer of the Auditor General, it was resolved that the matter be forwarded to DCI for further investigations. So I think, my sister, what we're doing, going by in support of the decision or the ruling of the chair, is to give us an opportunity to gather more evidence so that we know to what extent has these funds been misappropriated or misused. I don't think the two officers have anything to worry about if they have carried themselves in accordance to the rule of law, if they have prepared the documents, if they paid for the trips for the MCS to go to Turkey, if they are allowed by the Act, we'll then be able to determine that. So I support the ruling by the chair. I just want to clarify that we are not sending Nairobi County back. We've just not able to proceed.
Chair.
And as I conclude, I think for me, the ruling, I stand with your ruling, Chair.
Very well. So I think we are not going to vary the ruling. It is as so directed. But I would like the governor to say something, particularly governor having noted the challenges. These things happen when you are in the Senate. You can tell us what actions you've taken to rectify the situation.
Chair, it is very interesting. You've done an entire meeting and ruled without hearing me. And you invited me. Chair. You've discussed amongst yourselves, the Auditor General, and come up with a conclusion. The meeting could have happened without us, because you've not listened to us. You've not said anything. You've not asked us a thing. Chair, it is true, this 2014-15 to the end of this financial year, I was with you in Parliament. And maybe I should be on that side, asking these questions. If you look at these documents and unexplained expenditure, I don't think you'll find anything. Whether even those submitted last month, this month, we all know what was happening. That's why I brought you these officers, because they were there. A very keen look must be taken into these years, from 2014 to 2022. And there's possibly good reason why these statements are not being prepared. Chair. I think as an oversight committee, even before you transmit it to another institution, I think the questions that you should get answered by these officers, the Senate has the power to summon anybody in the Republic of Kenya from 2014 to 2022. Because the people of Nairobi want answers. This money is public money. And it's a lot of money, if you look at the amounts. Of course, at a later discussion, when now I became governor, I can discuss what I've done. To the extent of getting the first qualified opinion, the last audit of 22-23 is qualified. And we expect to make those improvements. I made changes in this institution from the board to the administrative leadership. But I do feel, in as much as we want thorough investigations done because of those years, that probably the investigations would be well supported by a comprehensive report from yourselves. Even if the report says, we asked the following questions and there are no answers. But the Senate shouldn't shirk that responsibility. All these things have been signed by Madam Kenya and Agwena, they're here. They need to respond to those. Chair, in as much as there's perpetual continuity of government, I am not going to defend anything that I need to answers for. In my opinion, from what I've seen, unless convinced otherwise, these financial years are indefensible. 2014, 15, 15, 16, 16, 17, 17, 18, 18, 19, up until 2022. And so, because of how I know this institution used to work, possibly the two people might turn to become your witnesses to tell you more. Possibly. And I have a strong sense that that could be the case. Whether you listen to them in camera, whether you listen to them in a different setting, they should be able to, and public officers must know that no matter how long it takes, you will take responsibility. You will be accountable for your actions. If you're a professional, an accountant, an economist, whatever it is, you will take responsibility for your actions, whether your boss has told you to do something or not, Chair. So this audit really should serve as an example. There are people in public service who hide behind their bosses. That niliambiwa, I was instructed, I was told, there's no written instruction, it was a phone call. Millions of Nairobians would expect, at least now we've done a rehab center, there's a lot we've done in the last 1 year, together with the officers, because, for instance, Madam Kenya is still there as an accountant. I think the last time I came, I told you, you can't complain about Toyotas being driven badly. You complain about the driver who's driving it. The vehicle is the same vehicle that will take you to Mombasa can have an accident outside KCC, you know. But these officers can give you a lot of insights. That then the true reason for audit is to improve processes, to improve systems, to strengthen accountability. Let's not lose sight of that. And so that's my submission. They would be very well placed to exactly tell you how are these trips being arrived at? How is expenditure being done? Why was this being used for other reasons? Who made you make this decision? Why was this done in that way? So that no one tomorrow should think they can do the same thing, whether it is in this liquor board or wherever else it is, Chair. So that is my plea to you, that even as you do that retreat, go with them, the two officers. Listen to them in camera, ask them specific questions that they shall be accountable to. But each and every public, I was about to call you Excellency, but you're excellent. I know you're very excellent. But Senator, Chairman, I have 15,000 staff in Nairobi. Also, there are hundreds of thousands in the national government. No staff in the national government should think they can do something and then will hide behind the president. Similarly, no staff in the county should think they'll do anything and hide behind the former boss or the current boss. Chair, all professionals have professional standards in the institutions. We have our law that applies. And I think you will have a lot of benefit. This audit can help you with other counties. To set an example. Because people normally know, it's okay. I'll be, when I'm governor, the audits I'm coming to talk about are Governor Kidero's and Governor Sonko. When mine come, I'll have gone. Even I might be governor again, or I might be in Senate, or I might be whatever else it may be. Accountability has no expiry date. So I would ask that the Senate does not do a superficial job on this, or just forward it to another institution. Do as much as you can on it. Get the answers you require from the officers who still exist. All of the officers who are there from 2014, very few may not be there. From 2014 to 2022 are still around. That would be my plea. But if you ask me, I have nothing to defend at all. And I shall leave it to you. But the next one, I'm very, very happy to come defend. The one which happened in my time. I can tell you the progress, the successes, and the plans. Now, the team is here. They know what we've been able to achieve from August 25th, 2022 to date, Chair. I submit.
Chair, before you rule on this matter, I think what the governor has said is exactly what we said. Because Nairobi County Assembly went to EACC, submitted a report, and recommended that further investigation be carried out. I think the first thing we ought to do is to write to EACC and say, now that Nairobi County Assembly, which is the first point of oversight, wrote to you on these audit queries, what did you find? And that is exactly why I said, let us accept these submissions have been submitted by Nairobi County. Then we engage EACC, we find out fast before we even invite the other witnesses and say, what has ESCC done? You know, because even if ESCC were here today, it would be important for us to know, why is it that Nairobi County Liquor Board paid for trips for MCS to travel abroad? Who asked them to pay? You know, I agree, these two officers would be of great interest to us. But can we first find out what ESCC found? Because I know Mwaura, who was, I think, the chair of PAC at Nairobi County Assembly, submitted this document to ESCC. So we start there, find out what did they find. Then from there we can be able to proceed. Because one, there are issues, the auditor is saying it's supposed to be accrual, they did it in cash. The county assembly is saying we did it in accrual. So how are we going to proceed, really? So that's my submissions.
Yeah, very well. Senator Mutinda.
Thank you, Chair. And allow me to start by reading the PFM Act 104J, which says that maintaining proper accounts and other records in respect to the CRF account and the county emergency funds and other public funds administered by the county should be adhered to the standards. But Chair, remember, me and Amida are seated here, although this is a committee, we represent Nairobi. And it's getting very disappointing that then we sort of call this delegation here just for either flowery or for photos, and we just close. Nairobi need to be listened, because there's so many issues in this city. We have the highest spending bills, 100 billion. You know, when you look at the whole media, it's always Nairobi, Nairobi, Nairobi. And you look at the issues we are addressing today, they're not for Governor Sakaja. They are for the former, regime that was in place. We needed just some light so that this burden can just be weighed off, so that we just simply get light. I'm concerned, yes, 14 million spent within 3 months for travel by MCAs, and mostly MCAs are not members of these liquor boards, you know, and the members are here. You are denying Nairobi their fair hearing as the chair, putting in mind you need us as members to consent to that particular report. We don't need to call them for further retreats and all that. That's why we have today. We just had a few questions to ask and get simple, straight answers. I've seen Hesbon has been a fund manager, fund administrative manager. I've seen Hesbon has been, I don't know, the chair for liquor. Today he was on record saying he's a director of a certain department. I lost it. So he has been through all that chain. We should have just gotten answers as Nairobi delegation, as Nairobi County. Nairobi needs to be simply heard on the basics. Number two, Chair, note, Nairobi is only having one audit, which is the liquor fund. Not like the other counties, we have sometimes 3 or 4 funds, Chair. So how comes this is the second time yes? If you're sending Nairobi, then just deal with 46 counties. You remove Nairobi from this audit until the governor finishes his term, and the next regime will be able to take the course, because you're feeling it's your own decision that you're making, not putting in mind our consents that we are talking about.
You know, Senator Mutinda, you are out of order because you are trying to question directive that the chair has given. But I will ask Senator Karungo Dhangwa to put himself on record first.
Thank you very much, Chair, and good morning, Governor and your team. My name is Karungo Dhangwa, the Senator of the great county of Kiambu, and I'm a member of this committee. And Chair, just to weigh in on what have been said by the Governor of Nairobi, although I've just stepped in, so I might not be aware of your directive. But I think for the first time, I've heard what I've always been thinking, in the sense that governors go, then the new governor come to defend the previous governor. 2 things from that, Chair. One, either the previous Senate did not do its job, or 2, it is a failure from the Auditor General's office. Because as we sit here, as this committee chair, as has always been said, we are the morticians. You know, ours is just to check on what the Auditor General will bring on the table. If the Auditor General says there was a mistake, we will believe into that and we check on it. If the Auditor General says there was no mistake, we cannot go into it. But I'm happy with the oversight function now, Chair, we can go deeper. But I think to cure all this, we should, as a Senate or maybe the committee to spearhead this, that there must be a law that before any governor leaves office, maybe there's a transition period. I don't know. We should come up with a framework, with a process, with the law, that he should appear before either the committee of the Senate or either the body that will be mandated to do that, Chair, so that they answer questions, because they are the one who spent the money, they are the one who misappropriated or appropriated the money. And having a new governor come to defend a previous governor, and again, the governor of Nairobi today is a former senator. So actually we should be asking him what he did when he was a senator, when all this were happening. But we cannot again blame that because we were waiting for these reports from the Auditor General. So if the Auditor General did not bring this kind of report, then that means we are not doing what we are mandated to do. So, Chair, I think this is something that we need to think through, that no governor, no person will leave that office before returning every book, before answering every question, so that even the next governor or the next officer will come and take it from a clean slate. Thank you very much, Chair.
Yes,
Very well. Just a moment before you say. Very well, the Miracle Senator, for that comment. The Constitution under Article 2 to 6 gives us the powers to invite former governors to appear before us, to respond to issues even after they have left office. Not just former governor, any other officer who was involved in a matter and reviewed by this committee. So we can still do it. Number two, I think it's also upon us to fast track the backlog that we have so that we start reviewing the current issues affecting the sitting governors. So I think that's an important issue which we will look at. And this particular matter may force us to invoke Article 2 to 6, 5 of the Constitution, which may require that the governor who was there and all the former officials who worked under him to appear before us and respond to this. Members, maybe for the interest of Senator Thangwa, the County Assembly reviewed this matter and they were unable to proceed. So they wrote a letter to DCI to investigate. So before you came, I had just made a ruling that we will not proceed until we get communication from EACC and DCI on the same matter. Because even the governor concurs there is nothing to defend. And honorable members, if you have an opportunity to look at the responses, you will now realize the wisdom of my ruling. Because some of the responses are quite inadequate. For instance, I'm just looking at the response here on matters to do with the trial balance and the inaccuracies in financial statement, where the response is that the management noted that the financial statements were not properly prepared because of incomplete record. I mean, how do we proceed with this as a committee? When you give a response like you are saying, management noted all the errors. This is on a serious matter and confirmed cash and cash equivalent. Then you are saying, the management noted all the errors and they were corrected in the financial year 2022-2023. Really, where do you leave the committee? How do you want the committee to proceed with that? So based on the directive of the County Assembly, who decided in their wisdom to forward this matter to DCI and EACC, and the inadequacies that we have noted. That is why I said we will not proceed, and we will forward this matter, request DCI and EACC to speed up their investigation. And then, after we have received that report, we may consider calling the relevant people, including the governor who was there.
But mimi msinita tena wewe.
No, you will come because you are now the substantive governor. So we will call you. So the issue of being heard, it is not yet closed. You are still going to be heard by this committee. The only challenge we are having is that we have insufficient information to proceed as it is now. Senator Hamida, you are the last one, and then I close.
Chair, kindly allow me to commend Governor Sakaja, Senator Governor Sakaja. He's actually among the very few governors who have actually decided not to defend, the so-called issues that the former governors had. Remember, this is what I've been advocating, that why would current governors carry the other governors' burden? I really do commend him for kupeana, kusema waziwazi, yani that there were wrong things that were done, so he cannot defend. Number two, also commend him to have retained some staff, actually most of the staff, because can you imagine if they're not there, what would have happened with all this? So I think that was the best thing that he did. About the Senate not doing, maybe Senator Thangwa mentioned that. I think last time we only had PAC and we didn't have PIC. So now you can see the mandate for CPIC. Actually, it's not a toothless bulldog. It can actually bite, and it's going to bite hard. I think one last thing, Bwana Chair. Whoever has done anything, all the wrongdoings, they should go down. They should go down. Whether it's former, whether it's how many years ago, they should appear on this one. I mean, they should appear to this committee, but then they have to go down because it is not fair for other governors to carry other people's burden. Thank you.
So I think we are going to stop there. Auditor, maybe auditor the last thing, and then
Through Chair, thank you so much. I wish to clarify the issue raised by the Honorable Senator Kiambu for non-submission of reports to the committee. However, when you look at our first paragraph for the report that is under the DCI, the Public Audit Act 2015 states that the financial statements required under the Constitution, the Public Finance Management Act 2012, and any other legislation shall be submitted to the Auditor General within 3 months after the end of the financial year to which the accounts relate. However, for this particular client, never submitted any financial statements that could be audited by the Auditor General. The first financial statement was submitted on 21st of June 2022. That is the first time we received a financial statement from this particular client. The reason as to why you could not submit any report, our reports are based on financial statements submitted by the client. I wish to clarify that. Thank you.
Very well. So I think we will close with the closing remarks from the members and the governor. Let's start with the members. Start with Senator Thangwa.
Thank you very much, Chair. I think I said what I had to say, but on that issue of that article of the Constitution that says that we can summon even previous governors, I think it's okay, it's there, there's a Constitution, but nothing stops us as a committee to come up with a framework that we don't need to invite them when they're already former governors. We invite them when they're seated. Because if we invite them, like if we invite Sonko here or any other previous governor, of course, they will say, I cannot access the office to provide those papers that you're saying. I don't have anybody to call today and tell them I want those documents. So I think we should work to have them when they're still in office. And I think that is something that we need to think through, Chair. Thank you very much, and nice seeing you, Governor.
Senator Mutinda. And please don't repeat what you have been... just... proceed. Proceed.
Thank you.
Chair, you've ruled. I leave it at that. Governor, I wish you well as you continue effecting our manifesto. All the best.
Mida?
No, I think we've said it all. I just want to say that, Chair, I think CPIC should not be a committee for rubber stamping, but then we need to show action. One last thing is that, Gava, when it comes to your time, 2022, we're watching you. Don't let us down.
Who is Gava? That's not a
Should I even say? Should I even say Saks? Excellency Sakaja.
Senator Lekina.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, let me end by saying this. This is not only unique to Nairobi County government. You know, these funds that have been set up, the fund managers believe that they have autonomy. And sometimes there's a huge conflict even between the governor and the fund managers. I hope, Mr. Chairman, that in future we'll also put the fund managers on oath. Because what is happening, it's too much for one person to take the blame. I know Article 179 of the Constitution puts the governor as the CEO of the county, and everything falls under. But when everything is so clear that there's a lot of misuse of funds, people should really take the blame. The right people should take the blame. I'm sure the reason why we have a lot of unlicensed bars in Nairobi County could be as a result of mismanagement of this fund. You know, this is a fund that nobody really cares. So long as you part with some little money, you know, the MCAs will not even ask you questions because the fund will pay for the MCA to travel and make some per diem. So I really hope that when we retreat to look at these investigations or these reports that have been submitted by the county government, we can engage EACC so that the report we submit in Parliament can be able to bite, as my sister is saying. I just want to assure my sister here that Article 226, subsection 5, really make people, public officers, responsible whether they're in office or not. And if we were to summon Sonko or Kidero, because this goes back to 2014, Governor Sakaja will appear here because he's the governor, but the main witnesses will be the former governors. And I think this is a matter that we need to deliberate on. Get all the former officials, have them investigated, and have them pay. Because I believe, apart from these two distinguished citizens, Kenya and Hesbon, there are other people who are there. And I agree, maybe these two individuals here could be able to give us a lot of information to help us crack the whip. So, Mr. Chairman, I hope that you will be very firm on this matter, because I don't want to sit in a committee that only talks. I want to sit in a committee that bites and make sure that we force these accounting officers to maintain the fiduciary duty. Otherwise, Mr. Chairman, I thank you.
Governor, now is your turn. Your closing remarks.
Thank you very much, Chair. Chair, the work of the Senate in its oversight role is very important in our constitutional framework. And I know it because I've been a senator. I think every institution needs to look at its standard operating procedures to ensure that everything is done within the right time. I think before I've said on our side, we're working on our parliamentary affairs unit to ensure that submissions are done on time. From our side, responses are done to Senate on time, etc. The other agenda submits on time, and you're also able to do it on time, because you might experience difficulties. As Senator Karunga said, in summoning former officials. For me, I'd hope you finish with my audits by 2032, because after that, I'll be a bit hard to find. It might not be constitutionally acceptable, in God willing, you know, after that 2032. But that's on a light touch. Chair, I really want to thank the Office of the Auditor General. Even beyond this, you know, the work that we're doing, we have seen the Office of the Auditor General as a partner to help us strengthen systems, correct wrongs. You know, these things were happening when I was in the Senate. And if you look at the answer, the number of questions I would raise, I wish I had an opportunity then for such reports to come. You know, when I was senator, you can see the first statements forwarded to the Auditor General from Nairobi County was in June 2022, when we were going into the election to get into our current positions. So, Chair, I support your ruling and your take on it. I'd suggest that, you know, the Auditor General can actually assist you to get the specific questions for specific officers. Beyond just what you ask a governor. There can be a question for a specific accountant. There can be a question for a specific procurement of a person. When you have targeted oversight, then you have real practical results, as opposed to a general question and answer on a report that was submitted, statements that are sanitized. But if they can reduce it to the specific questions that specific officers, because I've told my officers, in as much as I take the buck stops at me as a governor, I will never protect wrongdoing. I'll protect you if you're being victimized. I'll protect you if you're being unfairly targeted. But if you've done the wrong thing, and all my officers in Nairobi County know, I would never protect that. I'm happy we have officers who had been there before. Of course, I made administrative changes when I got in. They're still in the county, but not necessarily in those specific positions. The current director of the liquor board is Rhoda, who is behind me. Esbon was there before, and he has been in Nairobi County for many years, since I was 3 years old. He has been in Nairobi County. So his wealth of experience also is not something you negate. And you see, when you have such officers telling you really what happened, behind the cameras, behind sessions of of such interrogation, you get a lot of wisdom, Chair. And they tell you many things. And sometimes you're caught in between sympathizing with them or them being held to account. And that's when you let the law, do what it must do. When I first got into office, I called all these officers, around 10, 15,000 of them. 9,000 of them came to my first meeting. And I told them a story. In the Bible, when David was going to fight Goliath, the Israeli armies had been taunted for 40 days and 40 nights by this Philistine. They were calling him an uncircumcised Philistine. And he was insulting their God. When David came, David knelt by the brook, picked 5 stones, and the first stone brought down Goliath. David didn't come with those stones from home. He found those stones had been there for those 40 days that the giant was taunting them. I tell them, you have been there, but you're the ones who will change Nairobi. It is not for me to come with magical people who always say, oh, we're the ones who know how to do it right. We have amazing, sterling public officers in our county governments and the national government. Wonderful professionals, from engineers to accountants to procurement officers. The problem many times has been leadership, or who it is who is holding that sling. And that's why I've always given them a second chance to tell me, look, this is what used to go on. This was wrong. Either we were coerced or we were made to do this, or I agree, I was slackening, I was not motivated in my job. My officers, many of them would get salaries after 4 months, deductions diverted. And so there's a lot of demoralized public service. But I'm glad to say, and I'm sure your committee, because of the purview of your mandate, you'll be able to start seeing the changes. And you not change decade-long systemic decay of an institution in a year. Even if the governor was, I don't know, let me not mention names, you would not change it in a year. But what your committee should be looking to, especially with all these new governments, is where is the progress? Where is the matrix of implementation of audit reports? The Auditor General said this last year, they said the same thing the year before, they said the same thing. What are you doing about those recommendations? And we've still been waiting for that framework from the office. I wrote even to the Auditor General herself to help us to track that. Otherwise, then it becomes a cosmetic thing. Mnatuita Senate, we come, we have a session, we anasema hii, tunamaliza, we forget. But even after this session, what am I going to do tomorrow as a CEO? What am I going to do next week as a CEO to improve these systems? So the next audit then also doesn't have the same questions that were being asked. I think that is how we improve our institutions. So thank you so much, Chair, for your indulgence. And I am very impressed by the great level of wisdom that you continue to exhibit as you lead this committee. I know people from Vihiga have a lot of wisdom, and I'm very happy about that. Is where my grandmother is from, so I'm very happy about that, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Governor, and your team for coming. Indeed, we don't take that for granted. Your coming to appear before this committee is very important, not just to the Senate, but to the people of Nairobi, because then we are able to deal with matters that affect people of Nairobi. Maybe just to pick on your last statement on the tracking of audit queries. I think it's both ways. You as a county government, you have a role to play, and we as a Senate, we have a role to play. In fact, if you look at the PFM, I'm just reading PFM 104, Section 104 of the PFM Act, on the general responsibilities of a county treasury, which says, 141, subject to the Constitution, a county treasury shall monitor, evaluate, and oversee the management of public finances and economic affairs of the county government, including, then it lists several issues, but the one of interest is J, that says the maintaining proper accounts and other records in respect of the county revenue fund, county emergency fund, and other public funds administered by the county government. Then K talks about monitoring the county government entities to ensure compliance with this act and effective management of the fund, efficiency and transparency, and in particular, proper accountability for the expenditure of those funds. And then lastly, O of the same, advising the county government entities, county executive committee, and county assembly on financial matters. And this is a responsibility of the CEC for finance. Apparently, I have not seen the CEC for finance today.
He's in court.
Yeah, he's in court. I
All
think
the people what Tabitha is mentioning, they keep taking us to court.
he's a valuable member of, in this case, because he was a CEC before.
Yeah.
Before you came in, and now he's a CEC. So I think he's a person of interest when we move forward with this matter. So I think I have given a ruling. The staff affected, particularly the accountants, know that this committee has now established a standard, because we want to promote professional bookkeeping, professional accounting within our counties, because we have noted that we have a lot of challenges, especially in maintaining financial statements for funds. Most of the statements, most of the audit reports that we have gone through, they are either disclaimer opinion or adverse. And that is not something good. And if you are an accountant and you are presiding over financial statements of that nature, I think you have a professional responsibility. And that is why we have said such kind of accounts which have inconsistencies, we are not professionals in accountants. Many of us have different line of professions. We will seek the support of ISPAC. So you will have an opportunity to respond to the issues. The auditors have raised issues. There are also accountants like you. And based on that, and based on the communication from the county, from the DCI and the EACC, this committee will review those communications and decide on the next course of action, which includes, but not limited to, inviting the former officials to appear before us and inviting the CEC Finance to appear before us on these issues that we have raised. We are really, really particular on transparent and accountable management of funds in our counties. Unfortunately, the Senate, when you are there, Governor, we did not have an opportunity to look through the funds, but this committee now has taken up that. And our interest is to ensure that these funds are properly managed and they don't become cash cows for some county officials when they need quick money. So I think I would like you to take those directives in good faith and help us ensure that there is governance for the people of Nairobi. Otherwise, Governor, we want to thank you. I think this committee has dealt with the matter of water. I hope you are making progress because we are now going to invite you to appear for the report for 2023.
I'll be very happy.
2023, 2024,
Yeah.
which actually is your report.
I'll be so
And you will
happy.
tell us what has changed since then, and the funds as well. So we are working hard to clear the backlog of funds and water companies so that now we start on current issues. And that will be able to address the concern raised by Senator Thangwa of Kiambu.